You know, if you were to ask me, Leon, what is your favorite PlayStation 2 game of all time? Your favorite PS2 exclusive? The answer would be easy. Jak and Daxter. And then think about it for a sec. And it would get a whole lot less easy. I'd start having an existential crisis. Is it Jak and Daxter or is it Jak 2? That game is equally perfect. I've played both of them an equal amount of times. Both are better than the third, not by much, but they are. And then I would probably shut down and have to reevaluate my life, and then I wouldn't make a video for 3 months. But until then, welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and that's right, for the first time since probably 2010, Jak and Daxter is back in the news. Not for the reason I was expecting. You would think, oh, a remake or a sequel. Live action movie adaptation based on a video game? Like, you guys know Jak and Daxter is not Ratchet and Clank, right? First of all, Ratchet and Clank already got a movie, and it was actually better than a lot of people give it credit for. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. I saw it in theaters. I must have been like the only person to see it in theaters because it didn't perform well. But that said, going off the news here, Jak and Daxter movie seemingly in development makes the most predictable casting choice ever. Now, what do you guys think the casting is going to be? Because they're right, it is the most predictable casting choice ever. Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt as Daxter, actually a full-on perfect casting. I don't care how predictable it is. That is brilliant. If anyone is going to bring Daxter to life, my God, is Chris Pratt not perfect. Tom Holland, on the other hand, I don't know. This is what Jak looks like in Jak 2. He's older. He's grizzled. He talks in that game. But if they're doing a Jak and Daxter movie, Jak's a silent protagonist. Now, if you look right here, this is Jak in the first game, Jak and Daxter, which looks-wise, I could actually really see Tom Holland pulling off. I think that looks-wise, this is a great casting choice if true as well. But the character doesn't talk. In fact, in the second and third game, they go out of their way to note that he was a mute back in his youth, before he learned to speak. He was an 18-year-old mute. Now, do I think that Tom Holland could play the character silently? Yeah, and that would be a brave and bold move for Sony and for the studios to make. Do I think they're going to make a movie with Tom Holland where he doesn't say a damn word? Yeah, no, not at all. That would be the ultimate test as an actor, and I know several others have done it. Benny and June with Johnny Depp, for example, play the role and use just your eyes and your body language and whatnot to convey everything you're feeling and doing. But we know the studios aren't going to take a risk like that. So if that's the case, I mean, sure, I guess Tom Holland works fine. Again, he's got the look, but it's going to be sad that I guarantee you they're not going to actually go traditional with this character. Back to the article at hand, though, it says, we've had Sonic, we've had Mario, and we've had Joel, and we've had Nathan, which was also played by Tom Holland. And now, we might just be getting Jak and Daxter. Recently, the game-to-movie train has been moving at an alarming rate, and while some adaptations fare better than others, and yeah, actually, let's talk about that for a sec, because we have been getting a lot of video games to movies, and they've actually been pretty good the last several years. It started off with Warcraft being a pretty good movie, if I'm being completely honest. Then we had Detective Pikachu, which was at least a very fun movie. Then we had Sonic, which was a very good movie. I'm not even going to front. I think Sonic is probably the single best video game to movie adaptation we've ever gotten. Sonic 2, not as good of a movie, but a better Sonic movie, which, if that's got to count for something, I'm sure it does. Then, obviously, Mario surprised no one when it broke $1 billion. So, I'd say that maybe, just maybe, Hollywood's found a formula for this working. There have been stinkers, though, like Uncharted, which had, Tom Holland in it. That should have never been done. In fact, even the most recent, Gran Turismo movie, that's doing really well. I don't know if it's doing really well at the box office, but it's being received really well by fans and critics, which I didn't expect that at all. I've even heard positive things about the Twisted Metal series, or movie, whichever it is. I'm not a big Twisted Metal guy, so I don't know if it's a movie or a series, but either way, maybe the code has been cracked, and that almost gives me hope that they would do Jak as a silent protagonist in Jak and Daxter, but I don't know, jury's definitely still on that one. Point is, the general consensus is positive. It's been a particularly eventful time for Naughty Dog, the original devs of the Jak and Daxter franchise, having had huge success with both Uncharted movie. That movie was not a huge success. I mean, financially maybe, but everyone loathes that movie. And The Last of Us series, also a garbage series, let's be real. And the time is right for another iconic outing. To recap, The Last of Us did so well that it's been confirmed for at least 4 seasons. Pretty amazing. You're going to take a 2-game series and stretch 4 seasons out of it. Most of the second game people loathing anyway. I think that they are a bit overzealous confirming it for 4 seasons. It's people are going to get to the point when a certain thing happens and a certain character is no longer alive, and then a certain other thing happens with a particular character. Then all of a sudden they're going to fall off that Last of Us train real hard. But this isn't an article about The Last of Us, so I'll move on. As we know, companies don't invest unless they know it'll pay off. That GamingBible.com? Gaming Bible is retarded. Companies don't invest unless they know it'll pay off. Dude, we see flop after flop after flop. Disney lost over $900 million in movies alone last year. Companies invest in shit that doesn't pay off all the time. So the land is plentiful if one knows how to use it. And who, you might ask, would be able to play such a daring duo? That would be one of the most obvious and somewhat lazy casting choices in the history of cinema, Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. I appreciate that Pratt was eventually fairly well received for his unique interpretation of an Italian plumber. I actually like how kind and courteous they are to Pratt here. I don't know much about GamingBible.com, but okay, I'll give you some props there. And I know Holland has been an exceptionally good Spider-Man, though I'm still a sucker for Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, and you lost all credibility. You lost all credibility saying that you're a Garfield fan, but this is just too predictable. The Hollywood machine has a tendency to go with what it knows, to the point of making us sick and tired of seeing certain actors appear on our screens. I call it viewer burnout. We get so bored of seeing the same faces or hearing the same voices that we begin to grimace at the thought of them. You know what? They might be onto something, hearing the same voices, which is why, if you do a Jack and Daxter movie, don't let Jack talk. He's a silent protag. Wow all of us with Tom Holland's acting ability by letting him play a character that's similar to Link from Legend of Zelda, and that he only can convey through various sounds and body language, and then you let Chris Pratt do all the verbal stuff. That's why the duo works so well together, because one is a loudmouth and one is a stoic hero, and they play off each other brilliantly with that dichotomy. So if you don't want to hear the same voices, don't let Tom Holland talk in the movie. Or maybe get to the end of the movie and let him say his first word, that way you know he'll be talking in the sequel. Something like that. Anyway, don't believe me, as ashamed as I am to admit it now, after David Tennant started his second series as the Doctor, I increasingly found him grating, to the point that I was happy when he announced he was leaving the show. Again, this is a deep source of shame and family dishonor. The deeper source of shame and family dishonor is that you're openly admitting you're a Doctor Who fan. But at least I can be honest with you. The rumor mill started in earnest after Twitter user MyTimeToShine shared the information, and while it's wise to take any industry gossip with a pinch of salt, this particular user has been a reliable source of cinematic information before, and so there's weight to their words. Partner that with the knowledge that Holland has previously said he'd be into a Jack and Daxter film during a GameSpot interview, and it's looking more likely by the second. I didn't know Tom Holland said that. That's interesting. Okay. Though we suspect Holland's ambition to give a really weird and dark version of the characters might not be what the executives have in mind. Well, to be fair, if you go, Jack 2 and onward is really weird and dark. You get through the first game where it's all lighthearted and colorful and whimsical, and then the second game does get weird and dark. It's actually jarring until you find out why it is that way. And it's one of the, again, some of the best storytelling experiences I've had, not just on the PlayStation 2, but ever. Like, Jack 2 as a game might be one of the games that has resonated with me more than any other game in my life. So as long as they do it the right way, they start off with the lighthearted, bright, colorful, whimsical, almost PG movie, then move to an almost R-rated second movie. Obviously, it would be PG-13. It's still a video game movie, but you get what I'm saying. Then yeah, that could work. Just respect the source material. I mean, just don't do what God of War is doing and start with the Norse stuff when he's got 3+ games of Greek history and people only want the movie or the TV show to be about the newest, latest, greatest stuff. They're disrespecting the character by going about it that way. They're disrespecting the entire franchise and the fans of that franchise by going about it that way. So if they actually were to respect the lore and the care and the world building of Jack and Daxter, then they'll start with this and actually go into a really weird and dark version of the characters, which we do see in the games. Will Jack and Daxter get their day on the silver screen? Maybe one day somewhere down the line. All we can do is wait for when or if that happens. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, as I always am. I don't really know how much I trust this rumor to begin with. Like, yeah, they talk about how the dude has been a good source of truth when it comes to the rumors and the leaks and whatnot. And Tom Holland has apparently said he would love to play in a Jack and Daxter movie. But like I said in the intro, Jack and Daxter, as much as I love it, it ain't exactly a Mario. It ain't exactly even a Crash Bandicoot. So you're telling me we're gonna get a Jack and Daxter movie before a Crash Bandicoot movie? Like, I'd be happy as long as they do it right, because I'm a huge Jack and Daxter fan, but he doesn't have the cultural significance of someone like Mario or Sonic or even, like I said, Spyro or Crash. So if the industry wants to take a leap faith and go for it, I mean, Naughty Dog has been doing other stuff. It did The Last of Us and it did Uncharted. What other franchises can they pull from? Jack and Daxter is a logical choice. Maybe this is, hope. I'm going out on a real limb here, just full on speculation, but is this meaning maybe we'll get a new Jak game, or maybe the Jak trilogy will be, remade from the ground up like the Spyro Reignited trilogy? Like, you do have to have, since they're from a video game, you normally have to have a video game in the public consciousness to really sell it. Like when Uncharted came out, the Uncharted games have been massive for years. The Last of Us, those games are relatively recent games, so they're in the public consciousness. Jak and Daxter hasn't had a new game and God knows how long. It hasn't even had ports, like HD ports, since the PS3 era, if I remember correctly. So people playing it now are probably emulating it on their PCs, unless they actually have a PS3 that can still play PS2 games lying about, which I'm sure those are pretty few and far between. Like, how are you going to sell this? How are you going to market this? How are you going to sell this movie if you don't have something brand new and shiny to pair with it? Now, I hope that means we're getting something brand new and shiny to pair with it, but if we're not, it sounds to me like this is just a rumor. This isn't even real. I don't think this is happening. If it does happen, your boy will be happy as long as it is, truthful to the lore, as long as it's truthful to the spirit of Jak and Daxter. I cannot say how, again, Chris Pratt would be a brilliant Daxter. It's just, if you know anything about the humor from the game and know anything about Chris Pratt's delivery, just, I salivate thinking about that. But then thinking about all the things that can go wrong, and the fact that, me and 12 other people probably care about this franchise. There's not very many of us. Why is Naughty Dog jumping to this one unless they don't care and they're just looking for a quick buck? And I think that's a very fair worry to have. But those are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on Twitter, X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. I am a nerdy news channel, so please do subscribe. I do nerdy news every day, and while the video earlier today wasn't particularly nerdy, it is a very culturally relevant video, so if you want to, check out my review of Richmond, north of Richmond. I say review, more of a reaction, because I hadn't heard it until today, actually. So, yes, definitely check that out. Let me know your thoughts about a Jak and the Daxter movie, or really any Jak and Daxter news. If you want to see remakes or sequels, let me know that as well. But until then, it's all here in the Nerdosphere, and this has been Words of Paradise.